Radio.
You're listening to Cryptocurrent, the only podcast that explores the bold projects, exciting opportunities, and the growing reach of blockchain and cryptocurrency. Whether you've got skin in the game or you're just crypto curious, keep an open mind, enjoy the conversation, and stay cryptocurrent. Now here's your host, Richard Carthon.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Cryptocurrent. Your host here, Richard Carthon. And today I got a special guest all the way out in West Hollywood working on an absolutely really interesting project that I'm excited to learn more about. We have Ramak Seigh. How are you doing today?
Hey, Richard. Thank you for having me.
Of course, of course. So why don't you start off by telling us a little bit about yourself? Give us some background.
I guess I'm a bit of a dinosaur in this field. I'm 51, so I've got a diversified background, but mainly real estate. I built a 2,000 unit portfolio of apartments back in late 80s, early 90s. I got into tenant screening, which was a new field. It's for large portfolios where you go apply for an apartment. It's an automated system. This was in 92, 93. And by late 90s, I had developed one of the first nationwide criminal databases. Fast forward to 2016, I sold my database and I started looking for new projects. I started consulting with a cannabis operator in Los Angeles and thought about doing an ICO for them. After further research, we decided not to. By early 2017, mid 2017, I got interested in Bitcoin mining. I was one of the suckers into Gigawatt. I bought a couple of hundred miners into Gigawatt in summer of 2017. However, when they arrived by late November, the price of Bitcoin has just gone through the roof. And the miners, I took ownership of the miners and got into flipping miners, which back then was doing a 5x exit. The miners you could get your hands on for $1,500, $1,600, $1,700 were selling upwards of $8,000 to $10,000. The highest I sold for was in high 9,000. Yeah, I know. It wasn't easy. I'll tell you that much. I mean, PayPal froze our account. eBay froze our account. Amazon froze my account. PayPal froze our account with six-figure money in there. And miner sales through eBay still coming through into PayPal. It took me about 3 weeks to release the funds. It was a matter of documentation, paperwork. And little by little, eBay releases gives you a higher limit. Standard account for eBay has a $25,000 cryptocurrency equipment sales limit, which is something they don't talk about. They let you sell, then they step in. Which brings me to the highlight of Bitcoin being, they can step in once you transmit the money. But from there, I got into mining, then bought another couple of hundred miners in early 2018, tried to mine, and it has been nothing but disaster. The operators are scammy. They don't know what they're doing. They oversell, overpromise, and underdeliver. By summer of 2018, we actually ended up suing the operator of the data center and locked them out of their own facility. That's how bad the situation got, where the judge agreed with us. That guy had no business accessing his own data center. That's just to give you the magnitude of the issues. But in early 2018, April of 2018, I came across 50 acres of land in Kern County. That's literally speaking the solar power capital of California. I think the entire U.S. There's already 1 gigawatt of solar farms in that area. And I picked up the land. This was an older couple. They were looking to get rid of the land. And then I started working on structuring that land to be a solar-powered Bitcoin mining project. With 50 acres, we can easily dedicate about 10 acres to infrastructure and 40 acres to solar farm. That's roughly 40 megawatts, give and take, on the infrastructure. And that's essentially where we're at. We're doing a securities offering for the project for the first phase, 15 to 20 megawatt, 850 petahash, basically SHA-256, strictly Bitcoin data center mining operation using solar power during the peak hours of electricity and cheap grid excess power electricity at night.
Wow. Okay. So appreciate you just diving into all of that. I'm going to go back to quite a few things to unpack a little bit more, but just an absolutely interesting journey that you've been on by far of just all of the insane things that you've had to deal with on the mining front. So let's go back to whenever you had up your operations and they were trying to freeze your accounts to get everything going. It was at that point where you're like, okay, I need to create my own business because there could be a more efficient way to do this.
So let me step back. Tenant screening, I was one of the first people who got into being a credit broker. In 93, when I called the credit bureaus and I wanted to access people's credit profile, they literally speaking came to my office the next day, gave me access to pull people's credit, no questions asked. Fast forward to 2003, FTC finding the 3 credit bureaus, I think $5 million or $3 million each. And all of a sudden there's regulation. I mean, big time regulation, to the point where today, unless you have over $2 million in funds you can write off to start the business, you can't get into it. So I understand compliance. I understand. What's amazing to me with PayPal and eBay, now eBay I understand. eBay gives you a $25,000 limit. It increases to the maximum $4 million, which my account for my consulting firm now has that access. And it took them 3-4 days to release. In the meantime, they would allow the sales to come through. Then PayPal, which you have to realize, it's a subsidiary. They were wholly owned by eBay back then, and they just got spun off. Like 30% of the firm got publicly traded. So they're still a subsidiary of eBay. They freeze your account first, hold all the money without allowing you to do anything. Even a refund to the customer is not allowed. And then they start asking questions on an account that was, 5-10 years old. It was a little creepy. It was a little scary. Not that they were going to take the money, but it's not clear. It wasn't clear. As of still today, it's not clear because I just went through it again for a $3,000 payment on a new account we had set up. And it's still not clear. They have no idea what they're looking for. They have no idea what it is they're asking for. Worst of all is that you can't talk to the review department. That's the most ironic part in there. I mean, they literally speaking put a freeze on the account with 6-figure funds in there. By the time they released the account, it was mid-6 figures into the account. And it is scary, but it's literally a matter of going through the paperwork and compliance. It just wasn't clear. You really have to be patient talking to them and going through that process.
Right. Okay. And so with that experience, with one, trying to just make sure you can get your money, understanding the compliance standpoint of it, and just having that just point of contact to be able to be like, hey, I need access to my money. How can I get this? Were you like, okay, I see where cryptocurrency or blockchain could have its own like interface to where we don't need a middle person. If you have access to funds or if you are creating your own value, here's a direct way to get that done. Is that kind of how the concept of your company, which is Plouton, came into being?
So yes, Yes and no. My experience came into effect where uh, dealing with essentially the actual operation of the mining. Unfortunately, due to eBay's control to the platform access to such a wide base of customer, I don't think you can do away uh, from eBay if you're into mining equipment sales, especially when you hit those all-time highs, as I think we're going to hit this year. But dealing with these mining operations, all these people who claim to have the ability to set up 500, 1,000, 200, even 100 miners, that was the the biggest problem, starting with gigawatt. I quickly realized the only way you can have a successful long-term mining operation is that you control, you produce at minimum your own peak hours of electricity use, meaning the daytime from 10 to 5, which is the production capacity increase maximum for the utilities. Otherwise, they won't give you. They didn't honor their deal with Gigawatt. They didn't honor their deal with Bitmain. They didn't honor their deal with Blockstream. And these are different utility companies from Wenatchee, Washington to Quebec Hydro in Canada. They have not honored their contract, and they can do so. All the utility has to do is go to the utility commission, say, hey, we either have to spend $2 billion in creating extra peak capacity, or this is literally speaking 5 vendors, we're selling them cheap electricity with zero benefit to the county. What should we do? And the utility commission will always side with the utility company because they have zero interest in issuing $2 billion worth of bonds for creating capacity.
Gotcha. Okay. So it's just a much larger picture that you're looking into, and how do you package all of this into a potential mining facility that capitalizes on all of these opportunities?
Absolutely. And long term, that's literally, I come from the real estate background. Everything we do is over the 15 to 20 years. The only way as the cryptocurrency matures, I think we're comparable to maybe 80s internet, early 90s at this point, as especially for Bitcoin, strictly for Bitcoin speaking, as these ASIC miners increase in hashing power and electricity use, I think you're going to see consolidation and more projects that are for the next 10 to 20 years versus the next 1 to 2 years.
And I would agree with that. I think there will be a shift, especially with the halving event coming up. I think there's going to be a big change in strategy of how you go about mining. But kind of shifting gears, can you kind of dive into a little bit more of your company, which is Plouton Mining?
So the project is essentially securities offering. What we're doing, we're giving access to the shareholders to the entire infrastructure. What we're trying to do is create free, essentially, electricity. It has a capex. We're looking at 60 cents per kilowatt hour for, let's say, for every 10 megawatt, it's about $6 million. But in exchange for that, we will be getting 25 years of free electricity during peak hours of electricity. Meaning, so long the sun shines, we're producing electricity. It's extremely important where you locate the solar farm. You go to Chicago, you go to Houston. Those are horrible areas to set up a solar farm. they don't get enough solar days. Versus Kern County, why is Kern County the capital of solar farms? Is we get 93 percentile solar rays, about as powerful of a solar ray. We get, literally speaking, daily solar, with the exception of 10 to 12 days out of the year. The rest are sunny days, maximum sun during the day. And we are in California, the cool weather part of California. Literally speaking, with the exception of 5 to 6 hours during the day in summertime, even at night, even after 5, 6 o'clock at night, the temperatures are a solid 60s and 70s. So it's ideal location to do so. Now, you combine the peak hours of electricity that we produce through solar, we could get roughly 40 to 50% of our electricity from the solar farm. Then at night, we sit next to the largest wind farm in California, and we sit on a closed network of electric utility, basically, that does not deal with outside, and they have plenty of excess capacity to sell for large volumes for really cheap. Currently, we have a 5-year deal on the table from utility companies for off-peak hours for less than 2 cents. So you combine that into, we essentially get roughly a penny, 1.1, 1.2 cents per kilowatt hour in California, with ownership into the land and the entire infrastructure and the miners through a securities offering. So that's essentially what we're looking at.
Which is pretty impressive.
So yeah, and we took, I took the step. I bought the 50 acres of land. I've thrown, it's in there. Again, we have not broken ground. We did raise $1 million to float the project, but we are in the institutional round fundraising. So we shall see. I'm very hopeful. Things are looking really good for us.
Gotcha. Well, I'm hopeful for you too. I mean, if y'all are able to execute on this and hit a lot of the numbers you're talking about, I mean, this could be an absolute game changer. So I'm excited to see what is to come of, Plouton Mining.
Thank you.
Oh, of course. So I know that you've been in the space for a couple of years now, and I just wanted to ask, are there any other current cryptocurrency or blockchain projects that have your attention right now?
The side chain Blockstream is running liquid securities offering. That's really that could be a game changer. It's ahead of its time. But as we see more of a securities offering, that's really one of the great projects, I think, that are they're actually up and running. The satellite also option they offer could help a project like ours to be able to work 24/7 without any outside help. So if into the second phase we're able to go to backup battery, and if the prices drop the way the solar panel cost has dropped, we essentially could be an off-grid standalone project 24/7. Those are extremely important aspects as you go into the industry where every miner is dependent to the utility, every miner is dependent to the land internet. Imagine if there's a mining operation with a decent hashing capacity that can run, that the government can shut down essentially.
Yeah. I mean, hey, when you're working at 24 hours of capacity and it's self-sustaining, you have a business model that could like revolutionize the space. And especially for the amount of energy that it takes to do mining. I mean, there's a lot of everything you're saying makes a ton of sense to me. So for everyone listening, if you don't know a lot about mining, definitely challenge you to learn a little bit more about the space and how everything works. But this is definitely a very unique way to be capitalizing on an energy source that is very plentiful that can then essentially make you money and be, it pays for itself. So, I mean, I think that's really, really cool. Um, with being in 2020, and there are a lot of things. You kind of made the analogy that if you had to compare where we are now in the crypto world, we're at about the 80s to 90s of the internet as everything was coming into new. What are some things in the horizon in both the crypto and blockchain space that you're currently looking out for?
Um, to be honest, one of the biggest questions I have is we're going to halving, is how the old S9s are going to react. How are they going to go out of business, shut them down, or are they going to try to attack the smaller SHA-256, networks such as Bitcoin Cash or Bitcoin SV? That's literally speaking one of the most interesting things, in my opinion, over the next few months. I think we've seen Bitcoin Cash being attacked once the past couple of weeks. That's literally speaking one of the most interesting parts. The second is the coronavirus. Not so much the coronavirus itself or the panic it's bringing to the overall economy, but the effect it's having on the miners and the Chinese miners specifically that are being required to shut down. Those are putting, literally speaking, magnifying glass on the Chinese operators, and the fact that it may benefit someone to set up operation in a more stable, more free economy like the US or the post-industrial countries, Western Hemisphere.
I think you bring up an extremely good point, especially even as you're looking at current prices hiking up in the market, and you have to look at with the coronavirus and the effect it's having on a large population of mining right now, just like you said, how is that going to affect the overall market over time? And I think as we're seeing, potential prices increase and a lot of these facilities probably are not being used to their full capacity, what happens when they are? And I really do think, just like you said, that is something to be looking out for and aware of, because it could have a really drastic lasting impact on pricing in the market right now.
Absolutely.
Definitely. Well, man, I really appreciate you dropping a ton of knowledge today on everything mining, the incredible project that you're working on with Plouton Mining. But what is a final thought that you want to leave with all of our listeners today?
If anybody has any questions or anybody has any interest into participating in the project as an investment, I would invite them to go visit PloutonMining.com and reach out. We are a securities offering, Reg D. We have filed the proper disclosures with SEC and relative states. And we do have a broker-dealer that's registered in 52 states. So anybody who's interested, please go to PloutonMining.com and just drop us a note, and we'll be in touch with you. Our broker dealers are there to help you navigate that section of our offering.
Excellent. Well, we appreciate that. Ramak, what are some different ways that people can connect with you and learn more about Plouton Mining?
They can visit the website. They can reach on any social media, Plouton Group, at Plouton Group, or they can reach me. My pretty easy to get a hold of, Ramak, RAMAK 101. That's my standard social media handle. across all platforms. So please reach out, drop us a note, let me and the team know how we can be of assistance.
Perfect. Well, I appreciate that. Thank you for joining us again today. And for everyone listening, stay cryptocurrent.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for listening to another episode of Cryptocurrent. For more information on this episode and all of our episodes, please visit us at www.crypto-current.co. Stay up to date with the latest news in cryptocurrency. You'll receive daily emails Monday through Friday that are personalized and curated content specific to you and your interest, powered by artificial intelligence. Are you an accredited investor looking to invest in cryptocurrency? Crescent City Capital can help. Go to crescentcitycapital.com for more information. If you're finding value in our content, please take 5 minutes to leave a 5-star review and a great comment. Also, please make sure to share this podcast with others. Hello, everyone. I hope you're enjoying the quality of this podcast. I can only thank my amazing producer, Andrew DeRitter, with DeRitter Productions, who has put this together. If you have any podcast, visual, or video needs, please go to DeRitterProductions.com. That's DERITTER Productions.com.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Cryptocurrent with Richard Carthon. We'll be back with more exciting developments from the world of blockchain and cryptocurrency next week. But until then, stay cryptocurrent.